Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to talk about the Digitone II. There it is. So I've had the privilege of being able to test this guy for a few weeks, and I am going to do, well, let me just say this. All right, so first off, all right, so when I first got this box and I was messing around with it, I thought it was really cool. But as I kept using it, I really fell in love with this box. In fact, I'm going to make a grand statement that this is the best Electron box to date. And I know a lot of you are rolling your eyes like, oh, whatever. But here's the thing. When you combine the deep synthesis that this thing has, plus the electron sequencer, that's where that magic happens. And I just think this box is the shit. I mean, it's like, this is really the magic that happens, which it just excites me about playing with it just to compose. So I wanted to say that, and I also wanted to say that the Digitech II, which is an amazing box and is still the king of versatility. I mean, as far as versatility, because it's a sampler, you can put in vocal hits, you can put in all types of every drum sample you want. So it's still the king of versatility. But as far as depth and sort of weirdness and just being able to explore, sort of sonic soundscape and messing with controls, I think this box right now is the top. So anyway, with that said, let's go through like, well, what's new about this thing? Well, first I just want you to hear it. So hear what this thing sounds like. I just threw this pattern together before the video, so apologies if I mess up a transition, but let's check this out, and yeah, let's just hear what it sounds like first. So here we go. Sorry, that's because I got the compressor on really hot. Oh, by the way, it has a compressor. Isn't that great? So, all right. So anyway, I just had something there so you could hear it. But anyway, it sounds awesome. But let's go through some of the big things. All right. So it gets all the stuff by being a 2, right? 2 is the new Electron platform. What is that? So let me just be a little bit specific. So there's the CPU that's in here is a cold fire CPU, and that's based on the Motorola 68000 series. So it's an older CPU, but Electron's been getting amazing results from it for many years. I mean, a lot of the devices are based on it. But the thing is, that has that in there because they still are experts at getting the most out of it. But it also has a modern DSP. So it's a Shark DSP. Shark is spelled SHARC. And they are probably, I think, probably the industry leader in DSP chips. And this has a really great version of that. And so now they're able to just do a lot more. So you're going to see a lot more results. So the Digitech II and the Digitone II both have that new platform and new architecture. All right, so basic things, and I'm just going to zing through some of these. All right, so I mentioned that you have 128 steps. So that's something that also is in the Digitech. I'm not going to just keep saying Digitech 2, because I'll just say these are all the things that it also sort of inherited. The whole preset system. So you have presets and then you have kits. Just so you know, a track used to be called a track sound, kind of in the older versions of stuff. In the new platform, it's called a preset. So a track has a preset, and there are 16 tracks, and you can save all 16 of those tracks as one kit, and then you can load those up. So it makes it a lot more efficient. So there's all sorts of ways that you can save and load stuff, and it's faster. As I just ran into that, there's 16 tracks. On the Digitone, which you see I have a Digitone keys back here, the Digitone had 4 tracks. So there is a lot more room to spread out and utilize the voices. How many voices do you have? Well, 16 voices. And what made the Digitone unique as an FM synthesizer, it was 32-bit FM, which is very high resolution. So that's what gave it that sort of silky sound, like especially like doing drones and things like that. It really sounded great. So this has that same 32-bit FM engine in it. Apologize for hopping around here, but I'm going to just go through these 4 buttons. So these used to be the tracks, but now these are the tracks. So now you have a dedicated arpeggiator button. You have note edit, which I'll show you a little bit later, and transpose up and transpose down. And transpose up and down are cool because you can hold a trig and transpose. You can hold a track and transpose. You can hold the pattern button and transpose the whole pattern. So that's a really nice thing. And by the way, I don't know if I said this in the intro, but I'm just kind of going to do a quick overview. There's going to be lots of deep dives on this, but I am going to show you something unique that you're not going to see in other videos. So I will also show that kind of a tips and tricks kind of thing. But let's keep going. So we got that. We have, let's go through the effects real quick. So you have the usual suspects. You have a delay, reverb, and chorus. But you also have, now you have the bit reduction, overdrive, and the sample rate reduction as well. Plus, you have filter routing, so you can decide which ones of those are before or post filter, which is really nice. So in the mixer, you now have a compressor, which you heard earlier because I have it cranked up, and it really popped when I turned off the kick because that kick was driving the compressor. You have the dedicated FX button is kind of an additional button that you have, which is nice to be able to get to. You have the dedicated keyboard button. So now if you press that, it puts you into the keyboard mode. If you use function keyboard, then you can configure which key and which scale, or which layout you're in, which key and root tone and scale you're in, which is great. You have the dedicated song button. And again, a lot of these things are just from the, this is all just part of the new platform. Okay, so where do we want to go from here? We've heard it a little bit. I've rambled about like some of the big things that you get. A little thing that I want to call attention to is the trig conditions. One big addition on the new platform is you have, like if you do 4 of 4, that means, okay, only play this trig on the 4th time through, right? Kind of basic thing. But now you have not 4 of 4, which is awesome. So you can say that's going to play 3 times, and on the 4th time it won't play. That happens a lot when you're doing different drum beats and stuff, and you would just want to drop that out. And that's an addition. It's really nice. Plus, it's just easier now that they have the probability and the condition and the fill all kind of separated out. So it makes it a lot easier to do the trigs. All right, let me keep going because let me check my list. I made a little list to make sure I'm hitting all the things. Okay, we talked about preset management. I did the buttons, conditions. Okay, 3 LFOs. So you get 3 LFOs per track, which is cool. Page looping. So when you go into the grid mode and you hold page, you can now toggle on which pages play. They call it page looping, but it's actually a lot more flexible than looping because you can use different gaps. So you can use that as a performance tool, or you can use it just to, how I use it is kind of like just to hear something on the first page and then tweak it to however you like. So you don't have to listen to all the pages, listening to 8 pages, but so you get back to the first one takes a long time. Now you can just loop the first page, which is really nice. Okay, let me double check. Let's see. Now I'm going to show you. Oh, the MIDI. I did want to mention. Okay, Euclidean sequencer. Excuse me, Euclidean sequencer. So that's right here. So we got that. If you want to do mathematical beat generation, and the MIDI. So any of the tracks can be switched to a MIDI machine. And when they're in a MIDI machine, one of the nice things about the new platform is that you have, instead of one set of encoders, you have two sets of encoders that you can use to control MIDI, and you can save that as a MIDI preset, which is nice, and you can name each of the encoders. So that's one of the things that on the original Digitech, which you can't see, which is right over to my right, I use those encoders a lot, but I wish I could name them. But now you can do that on this, and you can also do that on the Digitech II. Okay, so let me go through, just checking to make sure. All right, there, I went through pretty much, machines, duh. So I do want to show you the synthesis machines real quick so that you see those. So any track can be set to a different synthesizer. So you have FM tone, which is the FM synthesizer that was the Digitone I, which is great. And then you have this FM drum. So I'm going to read these first, and then I'm going to go through them. So FM drum, or show you the pages, FM drum, wave tone, and swarmer, which is an extended version of swarm. So let's go into FM drum first, because I just want to give you a sense of the depth that the synthesis has on this thing. So first off, because I'm not going to go through everything, because this is just fun to explore anyway. When you get it, you can just check all this stuff out. So I don't think they should, FM drum sells it short. This thing is great for doing FM drums, but the thing is, it's got lots of capability to go way outside of that. So first off, it's got all the different algorithms that you have from FM. It's got wave folding, feedback, and it has two separate waves that are combined. And then you have an envelope for combining those and doing mods. And then you have a third page that has to do with the initial attack sound that you have, like on a drum, if you want to hear the click, of like on a bass drum. And then this last one is like a whole noise modeling mode. So there's 4 pages in this. And here's the thing. This is why, this, to me, this is such an amazing thing. You could pick any of these. Like you could say, I want to take the wave folding, and you could go onto any trig and hold it down, and then turn a knob and like set that. Now I can go to page 3 and say, I want to, change the envelope on the attack of the sound. And then, I want to add noise, and I want to bring the level of that up. And that's on one trig. So now when you come out of here, this guy's flashing to say, okay, there's some parameter locks on there. So if I hold this down, now you're going to see these guys pop up. This is another little nice thing. I just want to show this. Like if I'm on a different page and I hold this, it actually highlights the pages that have the parameter locks now. So it's cool. So it kind of leads you to clicking on this, and then you can go through the pages and see which ones you've locked, for this. And you can copy this. Anyway, this is basic Electron stuff, right? This is just how all of it works. So let me go back to the synth list. So let's just finish that. So that was just one. That was FM drum. So you already have full-blown FM synthesis, 32-bit. And then you have this brand new synth. And then you have wave tone, which is, it's its own creation. I wouldn't call it a wavetable synthesizer, because the way you interact with it, it just has a lot of wave shaping capabilities. And what I find is it works really well for getting pulse width modulation, or a lot of different square wave tones with distortion. And also it has hard sync, and it has ring mod and drift, and you can set each oscillator to use harmonics or to use the primary wavetable. These two are actually wavetables, but the way you interact with it though is just kind of like this unique synthesizer. And then again, it has a whole noise modeling mode, so how you can make that and how that's integrated is also in there. So that's its own kind of thing. That's wave tone. And then you have Swarmer, which to me is a really cool upgrade to Swarm, which is on the Syntact. And the thing about Swarmer is that you have independent control of the wave for both the primary tone that's in the middle on this graphic, and these little guys, let me turn them down so you can kind of just see them on the screen. Those guys, these sub oscillators, have their own wave shape. I think that's so cool. So let me see if I can just show something. Let me just do a let me just clear this so it's just the default. So let's just have this play. Let's see. That's just playing this tone. Well, that big loud one. All right, sorry. So this is playing, and let's just let's set these to be very smooth. So I'm going to set these to. So that's. Oh whoa, that's interesting. Oh, is that the noise? Oh, I must have this. Oh, I did. I override it. Remember the locks I did? All right, so let me clear this guy out. Clear the locks on him. There we go. That's what I was expecting. That threw me off a little bit. So what's cool about this is, so now I've got these both set to be sine waves. So it's very pure. So now we're getting a bass tone. If you have headphones, you could hear. Let me move it down even lower. No, I can't. All right, so listen. There's a good bass tone there. But that's going to be like the core tone. And then you can tweak the wave shape around. So that's the mix. So if you can hear this, you have the pure sine wave bass, and then you can tweak the other waves for the sub oscillators. So this is just the tone. Probably better to hear that. Here, if you listen to it I'll turn this up so you can hear that a little bit better. Okay, and then I can bring these guys up. And then we can detune those a lot. Well, that's too much. All right, let me stop there. Okay, so those are the 4 synthesizers that are in here. And then you have the MIDI machine as well. So you could take like 4 of the last tracks, for example, and just use those as MIDI machines. So let me press yes on this. And then this has the, so I can go through and set this guy up and put in different parameters. This is what I was saying earlier, is each of these, I have 2 pages of encoders that you can set up. And like I mentioned earlier, when you set one of these CCs up, if you hold function and then hold this will actually let you rename it. All right, so let me go through this tip I wanted to show you, because there's one thing about this. We got like 2 more things to show, and then that'll be this video. So sorry if it's going long, and I think I've only covered like 20% of this thing, but just trying to do something for you. All right, so let's go to one of my favorite things here. It starts off with a beef. With Digitone 1, awesome box, but here's the thing I never liked about it, to be honest, was the bass tone of it. So let's just throw in something that plays. Okay, so just get a pattern playing. All right. My beef has always been that if you want to check this out, like if you give it feedback, nothing happens. If you turn X and Y back and forth, nothing happens. If you change the A ratio, nothing happens. If you change B, some stuff happens, but it just kind of sounds like really thin FM. It's not like exciting. And then you can change the carrier pitch. So you start to get, but it never really gets like super interesting. And then the killer is when you turn the algorithm, you see this whole picture changes. So you start to get some changes, but it's not very pronounced. So I watched a friend do this, and he kind of said, the Digitone, it doesn't really seem that cool. And I thought, I wonder how many people have gone into a store, and had a chance to mess with one of these or played around with it and kind of had that experience. Well, here's the thing. Watch what happens when, so let me clear this track out. Let's go back to the beginning. So it was just that same tone. But let me go to page 2, and I'm going to turn up. So that's turning up. That's turning up oscillate the operator A, or B in this case, and then I'm going to turn up operator A, so we hear it to us. And listen how many tones you get just just by changing the levels of those. So why? And now let me go back and show you what happens now if we have these turned on. You'll actually hear them when you start tweaking these parameters. And so for me, that's always been a big, like, just sort of user experience thing, is that you just want it so you can explore stuff because you want to turn knobs and hear stuff. So watch what happens now. I'm going to do the same thing with those turned up. And just watch how much more interesting this is. I'm going to turn feedback on. Hey, we actually hear something. Let me change the ratio of A. Okay, so now we got stuff happening. Let me detune it. Ooh, that's starting to get a little rough. Let's do that. Let me change the wave shape of the carrier. Let me do... Oh boy, we're getting some gnarly stuff there. But let me change B. And then I'll mix both of those, do something like this, get something, I don't know, not a pretty tone, but but at least stuff's happening. But now watch what happens when I change the algorithm. Okay, you're hearing a completely different tones. That one's similar to the first one. But you get the idea that all of these are doing something different. So now the algorithms are interesting. So why I showed you all of that, that's just been a kind of a pet peeve of mine. But now there's a feature which I think is awesome, and it's just kind of a little bit buried, so I wanted to give it some visibility. So you have kits, so you go in here and you can, create kits, right? So, but there's a thing, I can go into Manage Kit, and I made one earlier that all it does, and I named it Explore FM. So I'm going to pick that. I'm going to hit the right button to go to the right, or the right cursor to go to the right menu. And then in this menu, I'm going to pick Load to Empty. And when I press yes, what this does is this prompts and it says load to all empty patterns. Confirm yes or no. So I'm going to say yes. Now, what this just did, in my opinion, is awesome, because now if I go to a new pattern, so let's go to pattern 7, way over here. Now, what I did in my kit is I loaded, these are all now set up how I want them to explore FM. So now it's the same thing where if I go through and add a couple things here and start tweaking, I start getting these immediate results. So that's, put a filter on there. Actually, I like the low pass 4 filter. Get some delay on there. Build a little beat, give it some overdrive, give a little tone, a little chorus. All right, so you get, anyway, I'm not going to compose a track or anything, but you get the idea. So that was that part. Now I want to talk about voice stealing, and that's going to be the end of the video. So basically that was just, you can load a kit and you can load it to all the empty patterns. So anytime you go to a pattern, it already has your kit set up for you. So that makes it so you can make a template project set up that way. So that I think that just makes a huge difference for how you can kind of tailor it to how you want to do music. All right, so let's talk about voice stealing. So let me go back to pattern 2. I hope I didn't trash it too much, because I want to show you. This has this loud. Okay, so let me go to him for a second. So in the voice setup menu, so at first when I started working with this, I thought 16 voices, wasn't a lot. But here's the thing. Every voice is pretty much multi-timbral, because every step, in the sequencer can be a different preset. which is really crazy. So you know, if you know anything about the Digitone 1, you can get tons of capability out of 4 tracks. But now you have 16 tracks, so you can really spread out. But check this out. The more I worked with it, I started using and learning how to use voice stealing as a composition tool. And so I kind of set up something here where this big sound is using unison of 8. But now I can go to unison of 16. So I can make this gigantic. I hope this doesn't blow out the audio here, but so this is 16 copies of Swarmer, playing, basically a super saw, type of sound. But what's interesting about this is if I put the kick and the snare and the hi-hat here, and I have this set to track mode, and what track mode does is it says, okay, if I'm the lower number track, I get priority. So what happens is track 1 takes its voices that it needs, then track 2, then track 3, then etc., all the way down to 16. So the lower the number, the higher priority they have at getting the voices. So this guy is track 9, so he's way down the list. So when he comes around to say, I need 16 tracks, he's not going to get 16 tracks, he's going to get less. So let's see what this sounds like with just this guy playing here. And I might have to adjust the volumes here. So you're still hearing the drums, right? You're still hearing the drums, and you're still hearing this thing, and it sounds, big and fat. But what's cool about this is that the ones downstream now, you've stolen, most of the voices, but there's little gaps in it because of the drums and the beat that's coming through. So I found this whole thing, I know this is totally like a total geeky thing, but I was like, this is so cool. So let me show you an example. So when this is playing, if I put something else on, and let me turn this compressor down because it's really heavy. There we go. That's a little better. All right, so now if I add this in, add this guy in, and I need to turn this guy down, so let me do that. So let's make him quiet. Okay, so now, so you hear how this kind of peeks through? So you get all these cool rhythms going on, which I was like, wow, you can really design this to do, so if I put another voice that's gonna pop through, it's gonna allow more opportunities for the next voice to trickle through here. And this was the trick I wanted to show you, was that I'm gonna set the volume of this to 0. But if you look in the voice allocation, it's flashing because it's using up all the voices. So now what I can do is it's not quite choke groups, but it's cool because now I can change the rhythm of this just by turning this off. So check this out. So that's the full rhythm, right? And if I bring this in, I'll put a couple other of these in here. I just love this way of that's the full pattern. So anyway, I thought that was really cool. It's a way, there's a lot of flexibility in how you can take each track and tell it how you want the voices to be allocated. You can lock them. You can set them to, you can set the whole pattern to a different mode. I like track just because it's fun. You can tell them to go ahead and reuse their voice, which is really good for percussion because percussion is so short. But anyway, I thought that was super cool. And the last thing I want to say about this guy is this is 1.0. And if this is 1.0, that's why I think this box is just going to be, it is going to be an instant classic. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe in the future we'll see, but I'm throwing it out there. I think this is like I said, this box is the shit. So, and I'm hoping if you get a chance to check it out, let me know. Let me know in the comments if you think it's the shit after you get a chance to explore it a bit. So anyway, I hope this is helpful, and take it easy. Have a great day, and yeah, see you around. Bye.